All right, so then we actually get into the story. Kelly Green is a funny name for a planet. It's a color, right?
It's a color, yeah.
All right, and then this bottom picture here on the first page where McCoy and Spock are talking.
Yeah.
McCoy's outfit is green instead of blue, so I don't know why they did the colors that way.
Yeah. And actually, Kirk kind of looks like the same green.
Yeah.
In some of the later panels,
right.
Which is very odd considering they're never the same color. McCoy.
Yeah, McCoy should not be blue, but I mean he should not be green.
He should be blue.
Right.
Right.
But I think these pictures are really good of the headshots of the actors.
Right.
Which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think that's pretty much the only reference point they had when they made this comic book was they had some headshots of what the actors are supposed to look like because nothing else looks at all quite right.
Yeah. Another thing just to mention before we get too much further is I like how McCoy and Spock are sitting there talking about provisions for the landing party. Something that always, kind of bugged me a little bit is that, again, they always went down to the planet, never had jackets, for the most part. I mean, except for a few, like the second movie.
Right.
Wrath of Khan. Never have jackets. They never have provisions. They just have their tricorders and normal landing party kit, and that's about it.
Right.
But I do like how they keep doing that.
They're kind of preparing, yeah. So. And I also like when they actually get beamed down to the planet. They have away mission suits on, so they're like environmental suits. So they have gloves and everything, even though they don't have the helmets. But they're not just the red, yellow, and blue shirts. All right, so they get attacked by the guinea pig monsters, and everybody just starts shooting.
Yeah. So this is Kirk and Spock.
Yeah.
I mean, McCoy and Spock.
McCoy and Spock, right.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly cool, although it is kind of annoying, they keep on, almost every issue comes up with a new spin on phasers.
You mean a different look?
A different look.
Okay.
So obviously there's trigger guards on it.
Yeah.
The body of it is more kind of like a rectangular long box, and there's no phaser type 1 plugged into the top of the phaser. Because they're using phaser type 2s in this particular scene. So it's reminiscent of the original series phasers, but a bit of a spin on the design. And this is a kind of cool close-up of a phaser.
Phaser, yeah. All right, so they decide to go ahead and head to the planet. Oh, but what I thought was funny is that Spock just says these guinea pigs were outside of the ship at one point. And that's when they must have gotten infected. And yet in the first couple pages, or the first couple panels, we saw that the spores actually entered the ship. Yeah. So Spock's wrong. He is never wrong. He is never wrong.
Earlier in the book, they're saying it's the spores seeped in through the hull. It's seeped. How do spores seep in through metal?
The air vent.
Okay, so, and that seemed weird. But now they've got this other thing where we put some guinea pigs outside of the ship for some reason.
Yeah.
And brought them back
in little spacesuits with oxygen masks on and stuff.
It's weak.
Yeah, and then they also say that it's quite possible that the alien spores have engulfed this whole unknown galaxy. So.
And that's why there's no life on another planet?
I guess so. Then they go into the teleportation chamber. Which doesn't look at all like the transporter pads from the show. In fact, it's just one gigantic like fishbowl looking thing where they all stand in. These first couple of issues, it looks like maybe there's like a beam down effect hitting all of them at the same time. But
pads.
Yeah, but we'll see in issue number 4 that that's actually glass and that there's some sort of door that they open up to get in and then shut.
And actually, that glass is kind of important in a later issue.
In that issue, right. But looking at here and reading for the first 3, I always thought that was some sort of transporter effect that looked like they were kind of engulfed. But now, looking at it again, it's glass. Yeah. All right, so then I called her Ensign Rand, but I guess you said it's Yeoman Rand? She actually joins the away party?
Yeah. Well, she was referred to as Yeoman Rand a lot.
Yeah, she was. You're right. I don't know if she was an ensign or not.
Yeoman isn't the same thing as an ensign, right?
I don't know.
Okay. Whatever.
But in reading, I've read like maybe 10 of these Gold Key comics so far, which is 10 out of the 61 they made. and this is the only appearance she has so far. So I wonder if she ever comes back.
I don't know. But I mean, and I like seeing her there.
I do too.
And I like seeing her doing something. I mean, actually on the planet.
Other than just taking Kirk's signature in the show.
Exactly. And then looking good. And then
maybe an eye candy.
Exactly. But, you know, in the end, she just becomes the object of rescue.
She's the damsel in distress.
That's what she becomes. That's why she's there, really.
Right. But they could have used McCoy in that same fashion. Alright, so then he turns into Swamp Thing, fights the giant Venus flytrap.
So this is Hunt, Crewman Hunt.
Crewman Hunt, yeah.
He looks kind of like a tree.
He looks just like a tree.
Yeah.
But, didn't really have anything to say there. Except for when he died, when Hunt dies, somebody says, "Timber!" Alright, so they bury him. Then they get attacked by the more monsters, and they get attacked by the little tumbleweeds, which I thought was funny. They're actual little tumbleweeds that come and attack them. And then they just use them like target practice and pick them all off.
Yeah, and don't they say something about great shooting, Captain, or something?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. You hit
brown
everyone
nose.
in sight, Captain. Good shooting.
Yeah, what a brown nose. Excuse me, is there something brown on your nose? Yeah.
Alright, and then she's attacked by this big monster-looking plant that just disappears, and they have to kind of follow its trail to find out where it went. And thus ends part 1.
Yes.
And then in part 2, we actually get to see the monsters that are in the pen with her, and they kind of look like something that you would see in a Star Wars movie. They have like the big butts and the little heads and...
Don't they look like some kind of weird kangaroo?
Yeah, a kangaroo and a giraffe mixed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Alright. And then he says, "Suffering Stardust." I think that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, they like to do that.
Yeah, and then they just start blasting away. They start shooting the wall, can't get through.
The thorny wall.
And then they come up with they find out that the plants are hurting these people, or animals. And then they decide to shoot the wall so that they can get close to Rand to beam her up, but can't Spock just beam her up from the ship?
Exactly.
Why do they have to get close?
Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah. So
they didn't do anything to explain that anything was interfering with transport.
Right. Well, in fact, they don't. They just, when they finally do blast through, they just run up close to her and beam me up, and they all get beamed up just fine. And then that's it. I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about. But once they get up on the ship, they talk about how the planet's too dangerous, and it has this awesome shot of the Enterprise just blasting away at the planet. You see the planet completely engulfed in fire, Enterprise up there in the sky just blasting away. And then that's it.
Yeah, and another thing that's interesting is the person that decided to blow up the entire planet, genocide, is Spock. Which is kind of interesting, because Spock just says all this stuff, and then Kirk's like, oh, you know, he doesn't say anything, and they start laying waste to a planet. So
yeah, and what's funny is that I don't know. Like I said, I think that they were just given headshots of the ship, headshot of the actors, and said, "This is what everything looks like," and they just kind of went with it. Hence the reason they have all these different outfits and all the computers look different. But on the Enterprise itself, when it's flying over the planet, it has like exhaust coming out of the nacelles and the little engineering
and in the engineering section. Yes.
Yeah. So later on, they'll actually say, let's get the rockets going and stuff like that. They don't say it in this issue, but later on they'll say, launch the rockets, and I'm like, it's
rockets?
It's not rockets.
No, it makes it sound so dorky. Okay, and if I could just make another comment, if you go on, you'll see that there's a little bit of bio thing about Star Trek and stuff, and they got a couple shots of Kirk.
Yeah, it was on the back cover.
There you go. And it's great. It says, the Enterprise and her thousands of crewmen.
I had circled the same thing. That's funny.
Isn't there supposed to be like 435 people?
Yeah, it's like less than 500 people. Right?
Yeah.
Yep, I had the same thing.
It's like, these people don't know of which they speak.